When I beat cancer, my husband left me the very next day. He said he didn't love me anymore. A year later, he was getting married. His wedding invitation sat on my table for weeks. I decided to go, but I didn't go alone. I walked into that church with someone who made his bride run away and his perfect wedding fall apart in front of everyone. His face went white when he saw us. The whole church gasped. Who was this person that destroyed his wedding just by showing up? And how did they become the most important person in my life? The answer will shock you. The champagne bubbles tickled my nose, but I couldn't taste the sweetness. My hands shook as I held the glass, and not from the cold. Today was supposed to be the best day of my life. After 18 months of hell, I had finally beaten cancer. To Iris. My sister Vera raised her glass high. The strongest woman I know. Our small group of friends and family cheered. My oncologist, Dr. Chen, smiled at me from across our living room. Even my mother-in-law, Patricia, had tears in her eyes. Everyone was here to celebrate with me. Everyone except the person who mattered most. Marcus stood in the corner, checking his phone. Again. I watched him from across the room. My husband of 8 years looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his shirt pressed. He looked good. Healthy. Everything I didn't feel like anymore. I touched my scalp through my colorful scarf. My hair was starting to grow back, but it was still patchy and thin. The mirror showed me a stranger these days. I was 35 but felt ancient. The cancer was gone, but it had taken so much with it. Iris, honey, how does it feel? Asked my friend, Sarah. To be done with treatment? Like I can breathe again, I said, trying to smile. It wasn't a lie. I could breathe. But something still felt wrong, like I was waiting for bad news that hadn't come yet. Marcus finally looked up from his phone. Our eyes met across the room. For a second, I hoped to see the man who had held my hand on our wedding day. The man who had promised to love me in sickness and health. Instead, I saw a stranger. The party wound down after an hour. People hugged me, told me how proud they were, promised to call soon. Dr. Chen squeezed my shoulder and reminded me about my follow-up appointment next month. My sister was the last to leave. You sure you're okay? Vera asked, glancing at Marcus, who was already cleaning up glasses with aggressive efficiency. I'm fine, I lied. Just tired. After she left, the house felt too quiet. Marcus was still in the kitchen, washing dishes like his life depended on it. I sat on our couch, the same couch where I had cried after my diagnosis. The same couch where I had slept during the worst chemo days because climbing stairs felt impossible. Marcus, I called softly. He didn't answer. The water kept running. Dishes clinked together. I got up and walked to the kitchen. He stood at the sink, his back rigid. His shoulders were tense, like he was carrying something heavy. The party was nice, I said. Thank you for helping me plan it. He turned off the water. His hands gripped the sink edge so tight his knuckles were white. We need to talk, he said without turning around. Those 4 words hit me like a truck. I had heard them before, from doctors, from my boss, when I had to take extended sick leave. They never meant anything good. Okay, I whispered. He finally turned around. His face was pale, but his jaw was set, determined, like he had practiced this moment. I can't do this anymore, Iris. Do what? But I already knew. This, us, marriage. He ran his hands through his hair. I've been thinking about it for months. Watching you go through treatment, and it made me realize something. My heart started pounding. What did it make? You realize? That I don't love you anymore. The words hung in the air like poison. I felt them settle into my chest, right where the cancer used to be. A different kind of tumor, but just as deadly. "You don't mean that," I said. My voice sounded far away. "I do." He wouldn't look at me. "I've felt like this for a while. I was just waiting for you to get better before I said anything." Waiting. For me to get better. Like my recovery was just a box to check before he could leave. "I stood by you through everything," he continued. "The surgeries, the chemo, all of it. But I can't pretend anymore." Pretend what? That I'm happy. That I want this life. I stared at him. This man I had shared a bed with for 8 years. This man who had seen me at my sickest, my most vulnerable. This man who was supposed to love me no matter what. "I'll pack some things tonight," he said. "We can figure out the details later." He walked past me toward the stairs. I grabbed his arm. "Marcus, please. We can work on this. We can go to counseling. I know the last year and a half was hard, but—" "No." He pulled his arm away. "My mind is made up." I watched him climb the stairs. The same stairs I had crawled up during my worst days. The same stairs he had carried me up when I was too weak to walk. I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by dirty champagne glasses and the smell of celebration cake. Today, I had beaten cancer. Today, I had won the fight for my life. So why did it feel like I had lost everything? I spent that night on the couch, staring at the ceiling and asking myself that question over and over. Upstairs, I could hear Marcus moving around, packing his things. Each footstep felt like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. I tried to remember when things started to change. When did the man who used to bring me coffee in bed become someone who couldn't stand to look at me? It started with the lump. I found it on a Tuesday morning while getting dressed for work. A small, hard bump in my left breast. I told myself it was nothing, just a cyst. Women get them all the time. But Marcus knew something was wrong the moment I walked into the kitchen that morning. "What's wrong?" he asked, looking up from his newspaper. "Nothing," I lied. "Just tired." He studied my face. Back then, he still paid attention to me. He still cared about the little changes in my mood. "Iris, tell me." So I did. I told him about the lump, about my fear, about the doctor's appointment I had already scheduled for that afternoon. He held me while I cried. He promised everything would be okay. He even came to the appointment with me. The doctor said the same thing I had been telling myself. Probably nothing. Just a cyst. But we should do a biopsy to be sure. Marcus squeezed my hand during the procedure. He was my rock. My safe place. That was the last time I felt truly safe with him. The cancer diagnosis came on a Friday. Stage 2, aggressive, but treatable. I would need surgery, then chemotherapy, then radiation. The doctor used words like survival rates and treatment plans. Marcus went quiet, really quiet. On the drive home, he gripped the steering wheel, so tight I thought he might break it. "We'll get through this," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He nodded but didn't say anything. That night, for the first time in our marriage, he slept on the couch. He said he was giving me space to process, but I knew better. He was already pulling away. The surgery was scheduled for the following month. A lumpectomy, the doctor called it. They would remove the tumor and some surrounding tissue. Marcus took the day off work to be with me, but he wasn't really with me, not mentally. While I lay in the hospital bed, scared and sore, he paced the room like a caged animal. He kept checking his phone, answering work emails, taking calls in the hallway. "Can't work wait just one day?" I asked after his third phone call. "I'm sorry," he said. "It's just, there's a lot going on at the office." There was always a lot going on at the office after that. The chemotherapy started 6 weeks later. I had done my research. I knew what to expect. Hair loss, nausea, fatigue. What I didn't expect was watching my husband disappear a little more. Each day. He came to my first chemo appointment, sat in the uncomfortable chair next to mine while the poison dripped into my veins. He held my hand for the first hour. Then he started scrolling through his phone. "This is boring," he said. Boring. My fight for life was boring to him. By the third appointment, he stopped coming altogether. Work was too busy, he said. I could call him when I was done. So I called my sister instead. Vera became my chemo buddy. She brought magazines and snacks. She made jokes with the nurses. She held my hand when the nausea got bad. "Where's Marcus today?" she asked during my 5th treatment. "Working," I said automatically. She didn't say anything, but I saw the look on her face. The same look everyone had been giving me for months. Pity mixed with anger. At home, things got worse. I was tired all the time. The house felt too big, too quiet. Marcus worked later and later. Some nights he didn't come home until after I was asleep. "I'm working extra hours to cover your medical bills," he said when I asked about it. But our insurance was good. The bills weren't that high. I knew he was lying, but I was too tired to fight. The worst part was how he looked at me, like I was broken, like I was something to be fixed or thrown away. When my hair started falling out, I found him staring at the clumps in the shower drain. His face was full of disgust. "Maybe you should wear a wig," he suggested. I bought 3 wigs, expensive ones that looked real, but they felt like lies. On my head, hot and itchy and fake. "You look beautiful," he said when I wore them, but his voice was flat, empty. When I stopped wearing the wigs and started wearing scarves instead, he stopped commenting on my appearance altogether. The radiation. Treatments were easier than chemo, but by then Marcus had checked out completely. He slept in the guest room. He ate dinner at work. He came and went like a stranger, renting a room in our house. I tried to talk to him about it, about us, about how we were drifting apart. "You're imagining things," he said. "I'm just stressed." This has been hard on me too. Hard on him, like he was the one with cancer. I started to believe it was my fault, that I wasn't trying hard enough to be the wife he wanted, that I was too focused on being sick to be a good partner. So I tried harder. I cooked his favorite meals even when the smell made me nauseous. I forced myself to stay awake until he got home, even when exhaustion felt like a weight on my chest. I pretended to feel better than I did. None of it worked. The night before my final treatment, I found him in his office, looking at something on his computer. When he saw me, he quickly closed the window. "What were you looking at?" I asked. "Nothing. Just work stuff." But I had seen enough. It was an apartment listing, a 1-bedroom place across town. He had been planning his escape for months, maybe from the very beginning. Now, sitting on our couch in the dark, I finally understood. Marcus didn't leave me after I beat cancer. He had been leaving me all along. Day by day, choice by choice, he had been walking away from our marriage. The cancer diagnosis was just his excuse to stop pretending he loved me. And somehow, that hurt worse than any tumor ever could. 3 months later, I was still learning how to be alone. The divorce papers sat on my kitchen table, signed and ready to mail. Marcus had made it easy. He didn't want the house, didn't fight over money. He just wanted out. It's like he was running from a burning building, I told my sister Vera over coffee. "Maybe he was," she said, stirring sugar into her cup. "But you weren't the fire, Iris. You were just someone who needed help." I stared out my kitchen window at the garden Marcus used to tend. The roses were overgrown, now. Weeds pushed through the mulch. Everything was dying from neglect, just like I was. The house felt too big without him. Every room held memories that cut like glass. The living room where we used to watch movies. The kitchen where he made me soup when I was sick. The bedroom where we used to talk about having kids someday. Now I slept in the guest room. I couldn't bear to lie in our old bed alone. "You need to get out more," Vera said. She had been saying this for weeks. "Join a book club. Take a class. Do something." "I'm not ready," I said. Ready for what? To live? The question hung in the air like smoke. Was I ready to live? I had fought so hard to survive. Cancer, but surviving and living were different things. I went to the grocery store once a week. I bought food for one person, single serving, everything. The cashiers knew me now. The sad woman with the scarves who bought soup and crackers and not much else. At the pharmacy, they knew me too. The woman who picked up sleeping pills and anxiety medication, who asked if they had samples of expensive vitamins I couldn't afford anymore. My savings were running low. The medical bills had eaten through most of our emergency fund. Marcus paid his share, but barely. I would need to go back to work soon, but the thought terrified me. How do you explain an 18-month gap on your resume? How do you interview for jobs when you're not sure who you are anymore? The woman in the mirror was a stranger. My hair was growing back, but it was different now. Thinner, gray in places where it used to be brown. My face was thinner too. The cancer had taken 20 pounds I couldn't afford to lose. I wore makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes. I wore bright scarves to distract from how pale I looked. But I couldn't hide the sadness that seemed to live in my bones now. "You're depressed," Vera said one afternoon. She had come over with groceries and found me still in my pajamas at 3 o'clock. "I'm fine," I lied. "No, you're not. And that's okay. You've been through hell, but you need help." She was right. I knew she was right. But admitting I needed help felt like admitting I was broken, beyond repair. "I found someone," she said, pulling a business card from her purse. "Dr. Martinez. She specializes in trauma and grief." I looked at the card. The office was downtown, near the cancer center where I used to go for treatment. The thought of driving back to that part of town made my stomach clench. "I can't," I said. "Why not?" "Because..." I struggled to find the words. "Because I'm supposed to be grateful. I beat cancer. I'm alive. I should be celebrating, not crying all the time." Vera sat down next to me on the couch. The same couch where Marcus had told me he didn't love me anymore. "Iris, you didn't just lose your health. You lost your marriage, your sense of safety, your trust in the future. You lost the person you used to be. You're allowed to grieve all of that." That night, alone in my too quiet house, I called Dr. Martinez's office. The receptionist was kind. She had an opening next week. "What brings you in?" she asked gently. "I survived cancer," I said, "but I don't know how to survive the rest of my life." My first therapy appointment was on a rainy Tuesday. Dr. Martinez was younger than I expected, with kind eyes and a soft voice. "Tell me about your marriage," she said after I'd explained about the cancer and the divorce. "I thought we were happy," I said. "Before the cancer, I mean. We had plans. We talked about having kids, buying a bigger house. I thought we were building a life together. What do you think now?" I was quiet for a long time. I think maybe I was the only one building. He was just along for the ride until it got hard. That must be very painful to realize. Painful didn't cover it. It was like finding out your whole life had been a lie. That the person who was supposed to love you most had been pretending all along. "I feel stupid," I admitted. "Like I should have seen the signs." "What signs?" He never wanted to talk about the hard stuff. When my dad died 2 years ago, Marcus just disappeared. He worked late every night for a month. He said he didn't know how to help me grieve. As I said it, I realized the pattern had been there long before the cancer. Marcus ran from anything difficult: death, illness, sadness. He wanted a wife who was always happy, always easy, always perfect. I think I married someone who loved the idea of me, I said slowly, but not the real me. Dr. Martinez nodded. And how does that make you feel? Angry, I said, surprising myself. Really, really angry. It was the first time I had admitted that. For months, I had been sad and hurt and confused. But underneath it all was rage. Fury at Marcus for leaving when I needed him most. Rage at myself for not seeing who he really was. Anger can be healthy, Dr. Martinez said. It means you know you deserved better. Walking back to my car after that first session, I felt different. Not better exactly, but clearer. Like, I had been looking at my life through a dirty window and someone had finally cleaned the glass. I did deserve better. I deserved someone who would hold my hand through the scary parts. Someone who would love me with or without hair, with or without perfect health. Marcus wasn't that person. Maybe he never had been. For the first time in months, I didn't go straight home after running errands. Instead, I drove to the bookstore downtown. I browsed the self-help section, the fiction shelves, the art books. I bought 3 books. One about starting over after divorce. One mystery novel that looked interesting, and one about learning to paint. At home, I made myself dinner for the first time in weeks. Not soup from a can, but real food. Pasta with vegetables, a small salad. I even lit a candle. As I ate, I thought about Dr. Martinez's homework assignment. She wanted me to make a list of things I used to enjoy before the cancer, before Marcus, before everything fell apart. I got out a piece of paper and started writing. Reading, painting, long walks, cooking, gardening, traveling. The list was longer than I expected. I had forgotten how many things I used to love. How many dreams I had put aside to make room for a marriage that was built on sand. Looking at that list, I made a decision. I was going to try one thing. Just one. Maybe I would fail. Maybe I would give up after a week. But maybe, just maybe, I would remember who Iris was before she became someone else's wife. Before she became a cancer patient. Before she became a woman whose husband didn't love her anymore. I was going to remember who I was when I was just me. The first thing on my list was painting. I had always wanted to learn, but Marcus said art supplies were a waste of money. You'll just try it once and give up, he used to say. That's what you always do. Maybe he was right. Maybe I would give up. But this time, no one was there to tell me I couldn't try. The art store overwhelmed me. So many brushes, so many colors. A young employee with paint-stained fingers helped me pick out basic supplies. Canvas, brushes, acrylic paints in primary colors. What kind of art do you want to make? She asked. I don't know yet, I said. I'm just starting. That's the best part, she smiled. No rules, just see what happens. At home, I set up my supplies on the kitchen table. I stared at the blank canvas for 20 minutes. What was I supposed to paint? I had never done this before. Finally, I just started. I mixed blue and white and painted the sky. Then green for grass, simple shapes, a house, a tree. It looked like something a child would paint, but it was mine. For 2 hours, I forgot about everything else. The divorce, the loneliness, the fear about my future. There was just me and the canvas and colors that did exactly what I told them to do. When I finished, I stepped back and looked at my first painting. It wasn't good, but it was honest. A little house under a big sky. Maybe that was all I needed right now. The next week, Dr. Martinez asked about my homework. I painted, I said, showing her a photo on my phone. "How did it feel?" "Peaceful," I said, like I could breathe again. "What else is on your list?" I pulled out the paper. "Volunteering. I used to volunteer at the animal shelter in college, before I got too busy with work and marriage." "What's stopping you now?" I thought about it. Nothing, I guess, except fear. Fear of what? That I'm not ready to help anyone else when I can barely help myself. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Sometimes helping others is how we help ourselves. It reminds us that we have something valuable to offer. The next day, I called the cancer center where I had been treated. They had a volunteer program for survivors who wanted to help current patients. "We'd love to have you," said the coordinator, Mrs. Thompson. Many patients find it comforting to talk to someone who's been through it. My first day volunteering was terrifying. What if I said the wrong thing? What if I made someone feel worse instead of better? Mrs. Thompson paired me with Elena, a 32-year-old mother of two who was starting chemotherapy. She looked scared and alone in the treatment chair. "Hi," I said, sitting down next to her. "I'm Iris. I'm here if you want to talk." She looked at my head, where my hair was finally growing back in short, uneven tufts. "You had cancer too?" she asked. "I did. Same kind as you." "How long ago?" "I finished treatment 6 months ago." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm so scared. My kids are only 5 and 7. What if I don't make it?" I took her hand. "I was scared too, every single day. But look at me. I'm here. I made it through, and so will you." We talked for her entire treatment. About her children, her fears, her husband who was trying so hard to be strong. I told her about the little things that helped me. Ginger tea for nausea. Soft hats for when her head got cold. Funny movies for the bad days. "Your husband must be so proud of you for surviving," she said. I paused. "Actually, we're divorced now. He left after I finished treatment." Her mouth fell open. "He left? After you beat cancer?" "Some people can't handle the hard parts," I said gently. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. I'm learning that I'm stronger than I thought, and you are too." When Elena's treatment was done, she hugged me tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "I feel like I can do this now." Walking to my car, I realized something amazing had happened. For 3 hours, I hadn't thought about Marcus once. I had been completely focused on helping someone else, and it felt incredible. I started volunteering twice a week. I met Sarah, who was fighting breast cancer while planning her daughter's wedding. I met Robert, who was battling lung cancer and worried about his small business. I met dozens of people who were scared and brave and human. Each person taught me something about strength, about hope, about the fact that life goes on, even when it feels impossible. At home, I kept painting. My second painting was better than my first. I painted flowers, landscapes, abstract swirls of color that represented my emotions. I wasn't good yet, but I was improving. Vera noticed the change when she came for dinner one Sunday. "You look different," she said, studying my face. "Different how?" "Alive. Like you're actually here instead of just going through the motions." She was right. For the first time since the divorce, I felt present in my own life. I had purpose, beyond just surviving each day. "I've been thinking about going back to work," I said. "Really? How do you feel about that?" "Scared," I admitted, "but also ready. I can't hide forever." That week, I updated my resume. I practiced explaining my gap in employment. I took time off for medical treatment, but I'm fully recovered now and eager to get back to work. The first few interviews were disasters. I was rusty, nervous, too honest about my struggles. But each one got easier. Finally, I got an offer from a small marketing firm downtown. The pay was less than my old job, but the people seemed kind. The office had big windows and plants everywhere. "When can you start?" asked the hiring manager, Ms. Chen. "Whenever you need me," I said. My first day back at work was nerve-wracking. Would I remember how to do the job? Would people treat me differently if they knew about the cancer? But my coworkers were welcoming. My boss was patient as I got back up to speed. Nobody asked too many personal questions, which I appreciated. During my lunch break, I walked to a nearby park and called Elena. She was halfway through her chemo. "Treatments now." "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Tired, but fighting," she said. "My hair is falling out now." I remember. It's the worst part for most of us. "Did you wear wigs?" I tried them, but they felt fake. I ended up with scarves and hats mostly. My husband bought me a wig, but it's so itchy. "Wear whatever makes you comfortable. This is your fight, not his." After we hung up, I sat on a park bench and thought about that conversation. This is your fight, not his. I had said it to Elena, but I needed to hear it myself. My cancer fight had been mine. My divorce recovery was mine. My new life was mine. To build. However I wanted. That evening, I set up my easel in the living room and started a new painting. This one was different from the others. Bolder. I painted a woman with short hair and tired eyes, but her posture was strong. Her hands were reaching toward a bright sun. As I painted, I thought about all the people who had surprised me in the past few months. Elena, with her fierce love for her children. Robert, who made jokes during chemo to keep other patients' spirits up. The art store employee who encouraged a complete beginner. And myself. I had surprised myself most of all. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. My marriage was gone. My health was uncertain. My future felt impossible to imagine. Now I was working again, helping other people, creating art, building something new from the pieces of what was left. I wasn't the same person I had been before cancer. That woman was gone, and I was still grieving her sometimes. But maybe that was... Okay, maybe the woman I was becoming was stronger, braver, more honest than the woman I used to be. I stepped back and looked at my painting. The woman in the picture looked familiar now. She looked like me. Not the me from 2 years ago, but the me I was right now. For the first time in a very long time, I liked what I saw. That feeling lasted exactly 3 weeks. I was at work, eating lunch at my desk while reviewing marketing reports, when my phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. I almost ignored it. Social media had become painful since. The divorce. Too many happy couples, too many perfect lives that reminded me of what I'd lost. But something made me look. It was a tagged photo from Marcus's coworker Bethany. The same Bethany he had sworn was just a friend when I asked about all those late nights at the office. The photo showed 2 hands holding champagne glasses. On one hand was a diamond ring that caught the light like a star. The caption read, "She said yes, so excited for Marcus and me." I stared at the screen until the words blurred together. 6 months. It had been exactly 6 months since our divorce was finalized, and he was already engaged. My hands started shaking. The marketing report fell to the floor, pages scattering. Everywhere. "Iris? Are you okay?" My coworker Jenny appeared at my desk, concern written all over her face. "I'm fine," I lied, scrambling to pick up the papers. "Just clumsy." But I wasn't fine. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. The room was spinning, and I couldn't catch my breath. "You look pale," Jenny said. "Maybe you should go home early." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. I grabbed my purse and coat and somehow made it to my car before the tears started. In the parking lot, I called Vera. "He's engaged," I said when she picked up. "What? Who's engaged?" "Marcus. To Bethany. His co-worker. The one he said was just a friend." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm coming over." "No, I'm fine. I just needed to tell someone." "Iris, I'm coming over. Don't argue with me." She hung up before I could protest. The drive home was a blur. I kept thinking about that ring. It looked expensive. Much more expensive than the simple band he had given me 8 years ago. "We need to be practical," he had said then. "Save money for the future." Apparently, the future just hadn't included me. At home, I went straight to my laptop and did something I knew I shouldn't do. I looked at Bethany's Facebook page. There were dozens of photos from their engagement party. Marcus in a suit I'd never seen before, smiling wider than he ever had with me. Bethany in a red dress, showing off her ring to anyone who would look. The toppy comments were endless streams of congratulations. "So happy for you both. You make such a beautiful couple. When's the wedding?" I scrolled through photo after photo, torturing myself. Marcus looked happy. Really, genuinely happy. More alive than he had seemed in years of our marriage. In one photo, they were kissing under string lights on what looked like a restaurant patio. He was holding her face in his hands, the way he used to hold mine. Before the cancer, before everything fell apart. When Vera arrived, she found me still staring at the laptop, tears streaming down my face. "Give me that," she said, closing the laptop with a sharp snap. "Did you see the ring?" I asked. "It's huge. He told me we couldn't afford anything fancy when we got engaged." "He was lying then, or he's trying to prove something now," Vera said, sitting down next to me. "Either way, it doesn't matter." "How can you say it doesn't matter?" He moved on. "In 6 months? Vera, 6 months. We were together for 8 years, and it took him 6 months to replace me." "He didn't replace you," she said firmly. "You can't replace someone. You can only find someone different. Someone better, apparently." "Stop it!" Vera's voice was sharp. "You don't know anything about their relationship except what you see on social media. And social media is all lies anyway." But I couldn't stop. For the next hour, I spiraled into every painful thought I'd been avoiding. Maybe Marcus was right to leave me. Maybe I was too broken, too damaged, too much work. Maybe I would never find love again. Maybe I was meant to be alone. "I should be happy for him," I said, wiping my eyes with a tissue that was already soaked. "I should want him to be happy." "Should is a dangerous word," Vera said. "You feel what you feel. That's allowed." "I feel angry," I admitted, "and jealous, and hurt, and confused. That's normal." "Is it normal that part of me wants their relationship to fail?" Vera was quiet for a moment. "Probably. But that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human." That evening, after Vera left, I called Dr. Martinez's emergency line. She called me back within an hour. "Tell me what's happening," she said in her calm, steady voice. I told her about the engagement, about the photos, about how seeing Marcus happy with someone else made me feel like my entire marriage had been a lie. "It sounds like this brought up a lot of old pain," she said. I thought I was doing better. I thought I was moving on. Moving on isn't a straight line, Iris. It's normal to have setbacks when something like this happens. But why does it hurt so much? I know he wasn't good for me. I know I'm better off without him. Because it's not really about him, Dr. Martinez said. It's about what his happiness with someone else seems to say about you. She was right. Seeing Marcus so obviously happy with Bethany felt like proof that I had been the problem in our marriage. That if I had been different, better, more lovable, he would have looked at me the way he looked at her in those photos. What if I'm unlovable? I whispered into the phone. What evidence do you have of that? I thought about Elena, who lit up every time I visited her during chemo treatments, about the other patients who sought me out for advice and support, about my coworkers who had welcomed me back with genuine warmth, about Vera, who dropped everything to come comfort me. Maybe I'm not unlovable to everyone, I said slowly. Just to him. And what does that tell you about him? The question hung in the air. What did it tell me about Marcus that he could move on so quickly? That he could propose to someone else 6 months after our 8-year marriage ended? Maybe it told me that he had never really loved me the way I thought he did. Maybe it told me that he was someone who ran toward easy and away from hard. Maybe it told me that his happiness with Bethany had nothing to do with my worth as a person. I keep looking at their photos, I confessed. How does that make you feel? Terrible, but I can't stop. What would happen if you unfriended him? On social media? The thought terrified me. Then I wouldn't know what was happening in his life. Do you want to know what's happening in his life? I considered this. Did I? Did knowing that he was happy help me in any way? Did seeing his new life make my life better? No, I said finally. I don't think I do. What would it mean to let go of needing to know? It would mean accepting that his life isn't my business anymore. And how does that feel? Scary, but also freeing? After I hung up, I sat with my laptop for a long time. Finally, I opened Facebook and clicked on Marcus's profile. My finger hovered over the unfriend button. This was it. This was the moment I chose to really let go. I clicked the button. Immediately, his profile disappeared from my view. No more photos of his new life, no more updates about his happiness, no more torture disguised as curiosity. For the first time since seeing that engagement announcement, I could breathe properly. I looked around my living room. My paintings hung on the walls now. My books filled the shelves. My life, imperfect and uncertain as it was, filled this space. Marcus was getting married, good for him, but that didn't have anything to do with me anymore. I had my own life to live. And for the first time since the divorce, I meant it. The weeks after unfriending Marcus felt different. Lighter somehow. I stopped checking my phone obsessively for updates about his life. I stopped wondering what he was doing or thinking. I focused on my own days, my own choices, my own small victories. Work was going well. My boss, Ms. Chen, had given me a new project managing social media for a local art gallery. It felt perfect, combining my marketing skills with my growing love of art. You have a good eye for this, she said, looking at the posts I had created. Have you thought about taking art classes yourself? Actually, I've been teaching myself to paint, I said. Really? You should bring some pieces in sometime. I'd love to see them. The idea terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Showing my art to someone felt incredibly vulnerable, but maybe that was exactly what I needed to do. My volunteer work at the Cancer Center was expanding too. Elena had finished her treatments and was officially in remission. We had become real friends, texting each other funny memes and meeting for coffee when her energy was good. You saved my life, she told me over lunch one afternoon. The doctors saved your life, I corrected. No, I mean really saved it. You showed me that life could still be beautiful after cancer, that I could still be whole. Her words stuck with me. Had I really done that? Had I helped someone else find hope when I was still learning to find it myself? That evening, I was at The cancer center for my weekly volunteer shift when something unexpected happened. I was walking past the children's wing when I heard crying coming from one of the family rooms. I shouldn't have stopped. The children's wing wasn't my area, but something about the sound pulled at me. Through the partially open door, I could see a teenage boy sitting alone on a couch, his head in his hands. He was tall and thin, with dark hair that reminded me of someone, though I couldn't place who. I knocked gently. "Are you okay?" He looked up, and I was startled by how young he looked despite his height. Maybe 18 or 19? His eyes were red from crying. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice cracked. "I'm Iris. I volunteer here. Do you want to talk?" He shook his head, then nodded, then shrugged. "I don't know." I sat down across from him, leaving space between us. "Is someone you love in treatment?" "My little sister," he said. "She's 12. Leukemia." My heart clenched. That's really scary. "She's going to be okay," he said quickly. "The doctors say the treatment is working, but it's still terrifying." I finished. He nodded, and fresh tears started falling. I'm supposed to be strong for her, for my mom, but I'm just a kid too, you know? And I don't know how to handle any of this. I felt something break open in my chest. This boy, trying so hard to be strong for everyone else, carrying a burden too heavy for his young shoulders. "What's your name?" I asked. "Jamie," he said. "Jamie." The name felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Can I tell you something, Jamie? Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And caring so much about your sister that it hurts, that makes you a good brother." We talked for an hour about his sister, about how cancer had turned his family's world upside down, about his fears and hopes. He was starting college in the fall, but wasn't sure he should leave his family during this time. "Your sister needs you to live your life," I told him, "to show her that normal, beautiful things are still possible, that there's still a future to look forward to." When visiting hours ended, Jamie hugged me. "Thank you," he said. "I've been keeping all of this inside for months. It feels good to say it out loud." "Come find me next week if you want to talk again," I said. And he did. The next week, and the week after that, Jamie became a regular part of my volunteer time. We would sit in the family room and talk about everything and nothing. His sister's progress, his college plans, his fears about the future. Over the months, I watched him grow stronger. Not because he stopped being scared, but because he learned that being scared was okay. That he could feel afraid and still be brave. His sister's treatment was successful. The last time I saw Jamie at the hospital, he was grinning from ear to ear. "She's in remission," he said, lifting me off my feet in a bear hug. "Complete remission. That's incredible." And I got accepted to the college I wanted, with a scholarship. "Jamie, that's amazing." But there was something different about him that day, something sad hiding behind his smile. "What is it?" I asked. He sat down heavily. "My dad doesn't want to come to my graduation." "What? Why not?" Jamie was quiet for a long moment. "Because I'm gay," he said finally. "I told my parents last month, and my dad, he didn't take it well." My heart broke for him. This brave, caring boy who had spent months supporting his family through the worst crisis of their lives, and his father couldn't accept who he was. "I'm so sorry," I said. "He said some pretty terrible things. My mom is trying to make peace, but he won't even talk to me now." I felt a familiar anger rising in my chest, the same anger I'd felt when Marcus abandoned me during my cancer fight. Some people, it seemed, could only love you when you fit their perfect picture. When you needed support or became complicated, they disappeared. "You know what?" I said. "If your father can't see how incredible you are, that's his loss. And if he won't come to your graduation, then you'll have other people there who love you for exactly who you are." "Like who?" "Like me, if you want me there." Jamie's eyes filled with tears. "You would do that?" "Of course I would. You've become like family to me." And it was true. Over the past months, Jamie had become one of the most important people in my life. He was kind, funny, resilient, and wise beyond his years. Watching him navigate his sister's illness had reminded me what real strength looked like. More than that, helping Jamie had helped me heal in ways I hadn't expected. Being needed, being trusted with someone's pain and fears, it had given me purpose beyond my own recovery. On the day of Jamie's high school graduation, I sat in the audience wearing my best dress and holding a bouquet of flowers. When they called his name, I cheered louder than anyone. Afterward, we went to dinner to celebrate, just the two of us. "Thank you," he said over dessert, "for everything, for listening, for caring, for being here." "Thank you," I said back. "You helped me remember who I am." "What do you mean?" "I spent so long feeling broken after my divorce, like I wasn't worth loving. But being your friend, seeing how much you trust and care about me, it reminded me that I have value, that I can be important to people." Jamie reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You saved me this year. Just like you save all those patients at the hospital." As we sat there, I realized something wonderful had happened. In trying to help others heal, I had healed myself. In giving support, I had found strength. I had built a life that mattered, a life filled with purpose and connection and love. It wasn't the life I had planned. It was better. I kept thinking about those words for weeks after Jamie's graduation. My life really was better than anything I could have planned. Different, harder, lonelier sometimes, but more authentic, more mine. Then the invitation arrived. I was sorting through mail on a Tuesday evening when I saw it. Thick, cream-colored envelope with my name written in elegant script. The return address made my stomach drop. Patricia Williams, Marcus's mother. I stared at it for 5 minutes before opening it. "Mr. and Mrs. Richard Williams request the pleasure of your company at the marriage of their son, Marcus James Williams, to Bethany. Rose Chen." The wedding was in 3 weeks, at the same church where Marcus and I had gotten married 8 years ago. I should have thrown the invitation away. I should have forgotten about it and spent the weekend painting or visiting Elena or doing any of the 100 things that made up my new life. Instead, I called Jamie. "Hey," he answered on the second ring. "What's up?" "I need to tell you something weird," I said. "My ex-husband is getting married in 3 weeks, and his mother sent me an invitation." "That is weird. Are you going to go?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Not to cause trouble, but to prove to myself that I'm really over it. That seeing him happy with someone else won't break me." "And the other part?" "The other part thinks I'm crazy for even considering it." Jamie was quiet for a moment. "What would it mean to you, to go?" I thought about his question. What would it mean? Closure, maybe? For so long, I felt like he won. Like he got to leave me when things got hard and then immediately find happiness with someone else. If I could walk into that wedding strong and confident, it would prove that he didn't break me. Did he break you? He tried to, but I built myself back up. Then maybe you should go. The idea grew in my mind over the next few days. Not going to cause drama or ruin their day, but going as proof to myself of how far I'd come. I called Dr. Martinez to talk it through. "What draws you to this idea?" she asked. "I think I need to face my past head on. For a year, I've been avoiding anything that reminded me of Marcus. But maybe it's time to stop running. What would success look like at this wedding? Feeling nothing, or at least feeling at peace, being able to see him with her and genuinely wish them well. And what if you don't feel that? Then at least, I'll know where I really stand. Dr. Martinez was supportive but cautious. If you decide to go, make sure you have support. Don't go alone. That evening, I called Jamie again. I've decided to go to the wedding, I said. Really? How are you feeling about it? Terrified but determined. My therapist says I shouldn't go alone. Would you? I paused, feeling suddenly shy. Would you come with me? I know it's a weird thing to ask. Of course I'll come with you, Jamie said without hesitation. You were there for me when I needed someone. Now I'm here for you. Relief flooded through me. Having Jamie there would make all the difference. He was calm, wise, and completely unconnected to my past with Marcus. He would be my anchor. There's something I should tell you about the wedding, though, Jamie said, his voice suddenly serious. What? The groom's last name. It's Williams, right? Yes, Marcus Williams. How did you know that? There was a long pause. Then Jamie said something that changed everything. Because that's my last name too. Marcus Williams is my father. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. I stared at it for several seconds before picking it up. Jamie? Are you still there? I'm here, he said quietly. Marcus is your father? The father who won't speak to you because you're gay? Yes. My mind was reeling. All these months, I had been helping and supporting the son of the man who had abandoned me. The boy Marcus had rejected was the same boy who had become like family to me. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. At first, I didn't make the connection. You never said his full name, and Williams is a common last name. By the time I figured it out, we had become close. I didn't want it to change anything between us. How long have you known? A few months. I saw a photo of you and Marcus on your Facebook page before you deleted everything. I recognized him. I sat down hard on my couch. This changed everything. Or did it? Are you angry? Jamie asked nervously. No, I said, surprising myself. I'm not angry. I'm just processing. I understand if this is too weird for you. If you don't want me to come to the wedding anymore. Jamie, stop. Of course I still want you there. You're my friend. That doesn't change because of who your father is. Really? Really. But this does make things more complicated. How so? I thought about it. Marcus had no idea that Jamie and I were close. As far as Marcus knew, he had cut his son out of his life completely. Seeing Jamie at his wedding would be a shock. Your father thinks he abandoned you, I said slowly. He has no idea that you've had support this whole time. Support from his ex-wife, Jamie added. Yeah, that's going to be awkward. Are you sure you want to do this? Seeing him might be painful for you. I've been thinking about confronting him for months, Jamie said. About telling him what I think of how he treated both of us. Maybe this is my chance. This is his wedding day, Jamie. I don't want to ruin it, even after everything he did. We won't ruin it. We'll just show up. Let him see that we survived without him. That we found each other and built something good. The more I thought about it, the more perfect it seemed. Not perfect in a vengeful way, but perfect in a justice way. Marcus had abandoned both of us when we needed him most, and we had found each other, helped each other heal. Okay, I said, let's do this together. Are you sure? I'm sure, but Jamie? Yeah? We go there with dignity. We don't cause a scene. We just show up as ourselves and let that speak for itself. Agreed. After we hung up, I sat in my living room and tried to process what I had learned. Jamie was Marcus's son. The son Marcus had disowned for being gay. The son I had helped through his sister's cancer battle and his own coming out journey. It felt like fate. Or maybe just the universe's way of showing me that love finds a way, even when the people who are supposed to love us fail. I went to my closet and started planning what to wear to the wedding. Something that would show Marcus I was thriving. Something that would make me feel strong and confident. Something that would prove I wasn't the broken woman he had left behind. I was someone new now, someone stronger. And in 3 weeks, I was going to show him exactly who I had become. With his own son by my side. The morning of the wedding, I woke up before my alarm. My stomach felt like it was full of butterflies having a dance party. This was really happening. In a few hours, I would walk into Marcus's wedding with Jamie, and nothing would ever be the same. I had picked out my outfit carefully. A navy blue dress that fit perfectly, showing that I was healthy and strong. My hair, now fully grown back, was styled in soft waves. I looked good. More importantly, I felt good. Jamie arrived at my house at 10:30, looking handsome in a dark gray suit. He seemed nervous but determined. "You look amazing," he said, giving me a hug. "So do you. Are you ready for this?" "I think so. Are you?" I looked in the mirror one more time. The woman staring back at me was confident, glowing, alive. She was nothing like the broken person Marcus had left behind. "I'm ready," I said. The drive to the church felt both endless and too short. We didn't talk much. Jamie held my hand while I drove, and that simple touch gave me strength. The church parking lot was full of cars, expensive cars. Marcus had always cared about impressing people, and apparently that hadn't changed. "Last chance to back out," Jamie said as we sat in my car. "No way. We've come this far." We walked up the church steps together. I could hear organ music playing. Inside, the same song that had played at our wedding 8 years ago. Jamie squeezed my hand. "Remember, we're here for us, not for him." Right. For us. The church doors were open. An usher in a black tuxedo stood at the entrance, greeting guests and handing out programs. "Good afternoon," he said pleasantly. "Bride or groom?" "Groom," I said, my voice steady. He handed us programs and gestured toward the right side of the church. "Right this way." As we walked down the aisle, I could feel people staring. Some faces looked familiar. Marcus's co-workers, his college friends, family members I hadn't seen since our divorce. But it wasn't recognition causing the stares. It was Jamie. I watched as people looked at him, then looked at each other with confused expressions. He looked so much like Marcus, especially around the eyes and jawline. People were clearly trying to figure out who he was. We found seats in the middle section. Not too close to the front, but not hiding in the back either. As we sat down, I noticed Patricia, Marcus's mother, in the front row. She turned around to look at the assembled guests, and her eyes landed on me. Her face went through a series of emotions. Surprise, then confusion, then something that looked almost like relief. She had invited me after all. Maybe she wanted me here. But then her gaze shifted to Jamie, and her expression changed completely. Her mouth fell open. Her face went pale. She knew exactly who he was. "I think your grandmother spotted you," I whispered to Jamie. He followed. My gaze and saw Patricia staring at him. He gave her a small wave, and she quickly turned back around. "This is already more dramatic than I expected," he murmured. The music changed, signaling that the ceremony was about to begin. The wedding party began. their procession down the aisle. Groomsmen in black tuxedos, bridesmaids in pale pink dresses. Then came Bethany, looking beautiful in a flowing white dress. She was glowing with happiness, just like I had been on my wedding day. Finally, the music swelled, and Marcus appeared at the front of the church with the minister. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, older than when I had last seen him, but confident and happy. He was scanning the crowd, probably looking for important people he wanted to impress. His gaze moved across the guests, and then it stopped. He had seen me. Even from several rows back, I could see the shock on his face. His mouth opened slightly. He blinked hard, like he thought he might be seeing things. Then his eyes moved to the person sitting next to me, and his shock turned to something else, entirely. Fear, recognition, disbelief. Marcus stared at Jamie for what felt like an eternity. I could see him trying to process what he was seeing. His son. His son, who he had disowned and abandoned, sitting next to his ex-wife at his wedding. Jamie stared right back, his chin raised defiantly. The minister began speaking, but Marcus wasn't listening. He kept glancing back at us, his face getting paler by the minute. Bethany, oblivious to the drama unfolding behind her, was focused on the ceremony. She had no idea that her groom was having a meltdown. "Do you, Marcus James Williams, take Bethany Rose Chen to be your lawfully wedded wife?" the minister asked. Marcus didn't answer. He was still staring at Jamie. "Marcus?" the minister prompted. Marcus stammered, finally looking at Bethany. The church was completely silent. Guests were starting to murmur, confused by the delay. That's when Jamie stood up. "Excuse me," he said loudly, his voice carrying across the church. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the groom might be having second thoughts." Gasps echoed through the church. People turned in their seats to look at Jamie. Bethany's face was full of confusion and growing alarm. "Jamie?" Patricia called out from the front row, her voice shaking. "Is that really you?" "Hi, Grandma," Jamie said with a sad smile. "It's been a while." More gasps. Now people were putting the pieces together. This tall, handsome young man was Marcus's son, the son nobody had seen in over a year. Marcus finally found his voice. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone somewhere between angry and panicked. "I'm here with Iris," Jamie said calmly, gesturing to me. "You remember Iris, don't you, Dad? Your ex-wife? The one you abandoned when she had cancer?" The gasps turned into shocked murmurs. I felt my face flush, but I kept my head high. "Jamie, this isn't the place," Marcus said through gritted teeth. "Isn't it?" Jamie asked. "Seems like the perfect place to me. All your friends and family are here. They should know what kind of man they're celebrating." Bethany was looking back and forth between Marcus and Jamie, clearly trying to understand what was happening. "Marcus," she said quietly. "Who is this?" Marcus closed his eyes. When he opened them, he looked defeated. "This is my son," he said quietly. "Your son?" Bethany's voice was barely a whisper. "You told me you didn't have any children." The church erupted in murmurs and whispers. People were turning to each other, sharing shocked expressions and confused conversations. "That's because he disowned me," Jamie said, his voice strong and clear. "A year ago, when I told him I was gay, he said I was no longer his son. He said, he was ashamed of me. He cut me off completely." Bethany's hand flew to her mouth. She was staring at Marcus with horror. "Is this true?" she asked. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. "Bethany, I can explain." "Is it true?" she repeated, louder this time. "It's complicated," Marcus said weakly. "No," It's not complicated, Jamie said. It's simple. When your son needs, you either stand by him or you abandon him. He chose to abandon me, just like he abandoned Iris when she was fighting for her life. The church was in chaos now. People were talking loudly, some standing up to get a better view. The minister looked completely lost. But through it all, I felt strangely calm. This wasn't how I had pictured this moment, but Jamie was handling it perfectly. He was telling the truth with dignity and strength. Marcus was finally being forced to face the consequences of his choices. The chaos in the church was growing louder by the second. Guests were standing up, talking excitedly, pointing at Jamie, and whispering to each other. The minister looked like he wanted to run away. Bethany stood frozen at the altar, tears streaming down her face. But Marcus wasn't looking at any of them. He was staring at Jamie and me with an expression I had never seen before, pure panic mixed with something that might have been shame. "Please," Marcus said, raising his voice over the crowd. "Can we discuss this privately? This is my wedding day." "No," Jamie said firmly. "I'm done protecting your secrets, Dad. These people deserve to know who you really are." Patricia stood, up from the front row, her face pale but determined. "Jamie, sweetheart, I had no idea you were here. I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too, Grandma," Jamie said, his voice softening for a moment. Then he looked back at Marcus. "But your son made it clear I wasn't welcome in this family anymore." "That's not true," Marcus said desperately. "I never said you weren't welcome." "Really?" Jamie's voice was getting stronger. "Because I remember you telling me that you couldn't have a gay son, that it would ruin your reputation, that I was an embarrassment to the Williams name." Gasps echoed through the church again. I could see some of Marcus's co-workers exchanging shocked looks. This wasn't the Marcus they knew, the successful, respectable businessman. Bethany finally found her voice. "Marcus, you told me you didn't have any children. You said you never wanted kids." "I can explain," Marcus said, but his voice was weak. "Explain what?" Bethany asked, her voice breaking. "Explain how you lied to me about having a son? Explain how you abandoned your own child?" "It's not that simple," Marcus tried again. "Actually, it is that simple," I said, standing up for the first time. "My voice carried clearly through the church. "Marcus runs away when people need him. It's what he does." All eyes turned to me. I felt Jamie squeeze my hand in support. "When I was diagnosed with cancer," I continued, "Marcus slowly disappeared from our marriage. He stopped coming to my treatments. He worked late every night. He slept in another room. And the day after I finished my final treatment, he told me he didn't love me anymore and left." The murmurs in the church were getting angry now. I could hear words like horrible and disgusting being whispered. "That's enough," Marcus said, his face red with embarrassment and anger. "This is my wedding. You have no right to be here." "Actually, I do," I said calmly. "Your mother invited me." Patricia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I did invite her, because I was hoping she might know where Jamie was. I've been trying to find him for months." "You have?" Jamie asked, his voice surprised. "Of course I have. You're my grandson. I love you no matter what. I've been begging Marcus to tell me how to reach you, but he refused." "Because I didn't want to deal with the drama," Marcus said. "Jamie made his choice when he decided to live that lifestyle." The words hung in the air like poison. Several guests made sounds of disgust. Even some of Marcus's friends looked appalled. "That lifestyle?" Jamie repeated. "You mean being honest about who I am? Being true to myself?" "You know what I mean," Marcus said. "No, I don't." Say it clearly, Dad. Tell everyone here what you really think of your gay son." Marcus's mouth opened and closed, like a fish. He couldn't say it. Not in front of all these people. Not in front of Bethany. "I'll say it for you," Jamie continued. "You think being gay is shameful. You think I'm broken. You think I chose this to hurt you somehow. And rather than learn or grow or try to understand, you decided it was easier to just pretend I don't exist." "Jamie," Patricia called out, "I want you to know that I don't feel that way. I love you exactly as you are." "Thank you, Grandma," Jamie said, his voice thick with emotion. "That means everything to me." "How did you two even find each other?" Bethany asked suddenly, looking between Jamie and me. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment when the full truth would come out. "We met at the cancer center," I said clearly. Jamie's little sister was being treated for leukemia. He was there every day, scared and alone, trying to be strong for his family. I was volunteering with you. Cancer patients and their families. "Jamie has a sister?" Bethany asked, looking at Marcus. "You said you had no children, but you have two?" Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. "Her name is Lily," Jamie said. "She's 13 now and she's in remission. But when she was going through treatment, it was the scariest time of our family's life. My mom was falling apart, and I was trying to hold everyone together." "Where was your father during this?" someone called out from the crowd. Jamie looked directly at Marcus. He visited a few times in the beginning, but when I told him I was gay, he stopped coming. He abandoned his 12-year-old daughter during her cancer treatment because he couldn't handle having a gay son. The sound of shock and disgust from the wedding guests was getting louder. I could see people shaking their heads in disbelief. Iris helped me through the worst months of my life. Jamie continued. When my father abandoned our family, she became the parent figure I needed. She listened to my fears about my sister. She encouraged me to stay in school. She helped me apply for college scholarships. "You helped him get scholarships?" Patricia asked me, her voice full of gratitude. "I helped him write his essays," I said. "Jamie is incredibly smart and talented. He deserved every opportunity. And when I came out to my parents and my dad rejected me, Iris was there for that, too. She held me while I cried. She told me I was perfect exactly as I was. She became the family my father refused to be." Bethany was staring at Marcus with a look of complete disgust. "You abandoned your sick daughter? And your son when he needed you most?" "It's not that simple," Marcus said again, but even he didn't sound like he believed it anymore. "It sounds pretty simple to me," said a voice from the crowd. It was Marcus's brother, David. "You're a coward, Marcus. You always have been." "David, please," Patricia said. "No, Mom. Someone needs to say it. Marcus runs from anything difficult. He did it when Dad was dying. He did it when Iris was sick. And he did it when Jamie needed him. He's selfish and weak." The church erupted in arguments. Some people were defending Marcus, but more were expressing their shock and disappointment. Through it all, Bethany stood silently at the altar, her wedding dress looking suddenly out of place in the chaos. Finally, she spoke. "Marcus," she said, quietly, but her voice carried through the noise. "Is all of this true? Did you really abandon your children and your ex-wife when they needed you most?" Marcus looked around the church desperately, like he was searching for an escape route. "Bethany, I can explain everything. After the wedding, we can talk privately, and I'll tell you my side of the story." "Your side?" Bethany laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "What side could there possibly be?" "You lied to me about having children. You abandoned your daughter during cancer treatment. You disowned your son for being gay. You left your wife when she was fighting for her life." She pulled off her engagement ring and threw it at his feet. There's no side to that story that makes you anything other than a terrible person. Bethany, please don't do this, Marcus begged. No, she said firmly. I'm not going to marry someone who lies to me. Someone who abandons people when they need him most. Someone who's too ashamed of his own children to admit they exist. She picked up her dress and started walking down the aisle toward the exit. As she passed, Jamie and she stopped. Thank you, she said quietly, for saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. And then she was gone, leaving Marcus standing alone at the altar in front of a church full of people who now knew exactly what kind of man he really was. The silence that followed Bethany's exit was deafening. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the church doors where his bride had disappeared. His face had gone from red to pale to a sickly gray color. The minister cleared his throat awkwardly. Perhaps we should take a moment to... There's nothing to take a moment for, Marcus's brother David said loudly, standing up from his seat. The wedding's over. Marcus, you brought this on yourself. Patricia was crying openly now, her hands pressed to her face. Several of Marcus's relatives were comforting her, shooting angry looks at their son and nephew. Marcus finally seemed to remember where he was. He looked around the church, seeing the faces of everyone he had wanted to impress. His co-workers, his college friends, his new in-laws, all of them were staring at him with expressions ranging from shock to disgust to pity. This is all a misunderstanding, he said desperately. If you just let me explain. Explain what? Called out one of his co-workers. How you lied about having kids? Or how you abandoned your daughter during cancer treatment, added another voice. Or how you left your wife when she needed you most. This came from someone I didn't recognize, but the anger in their voice was clear. Marcus's face crumpled. You don't understand. The cancer treatments were so hard. I couldn't handle watching her suffer. And Jamie? His choices were tearing our family apart. My choices? Jamie said, his voice incredulous. You mean the choice to be honest about who I am? The choice to stop pretending to be someone I'm not? You know what I mean, Marcus said weakly. No, I don't. And neither does anyone else here. Because what you're really saying is that you're too selfish and weak to love people when it gets difficult. Marcus looked around the church again, searching for a friendly face. He found none. Mom, he said, turning to Patricia. You understand, don't you? You know I'm not a bad person. Patricia stood up slowly. At 72, she looked frail and tired, but her voice was strong. Marcus James Williams, she said, using his full name like she had when he was in trouble as child. I raised you better than this. Mom, please. I raised you to take care of people, not abandon them. I raised you to be honest, not lie to the woman you claim to love. I raised you to love your children unconditionally. She walked over to where Jamie and I were standing. With shaking hands, she reached up and cupped Jamie's face. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, she whispered. I'm so sorry for what he did to you, for what he put you through. Jamie's eyes filled with tears. It's not your fault, Grandma. I should have done more. I should have stood up to him. I should have found you sooner. You found me now, Jamie said, hugging her gently. That's what matters. Patricia turned to me. And Iris, dear, I'm so sorry for what my son did to you. After everything you went through, you deserved so much better. Thank you, I said, feeling my own tears starting. That means more than you know. Marcus, Patricia said, turning back to her son. You lost the most wonderful daughter-in-law. And you threw away your relationship with your children. For what? For your pride? For your reputation? Marcus had no answer. The church was starting to empty as guests realized there would be no wedding to witness. But they weren't leaving quietly. I could hear fragments of angry conversations as people filed out. Can you believe he lied about having kids? That poor woman, going through cancer alone. And his son seems like such a nice young man. I always thought there was something off about Marcus. Marcus's college friends walked past us without saying goodbye to him. His coworkers avoided eye contact. Even some of his relatives left without a word. Within 20 minutes, the church was nearly empty. Only Patricia, Jamie, me, Marcus, and a few of his immediate family members remained. David approached his brother. "Marcus, you need to make this right." "How?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How do I make any of this right?" "You start by apologizing," David said. "Really apologizing, not making excuses or trying to justify what you did." Marcus looked at Jamie and me. For the first time in all the years I had known him, he looked truly ashamed. He started, then stopped. "I don't know what to say." "How about I'm sorry," Jamie suggested. "How about I was wrong? How about I should have been there for you?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was broken. "I was scared," he said finally. "When you got cancer, Iris, I was terrified. I didn't know how to handle it. I felt helpless and useless, and it was easier to just pull away." "Easier for who?" I asked. "For me. I know that's selfish. I know that's not what a husband should do." "No, it's not," I agreed. He turned to Jamie. "And when you told me you were gay, I thought about what people would say, what it would mean for my career, my reputation. I was ashamed, and I know that was wrong." "You were ashamed of me," Jamie said. "Your own son." "I was ashamed of how I felt. I was ashamed that I couldn't just accept it and be happy for you. I was ashamed that I cared more about what other people thought than about your happiness." It wasn't much, but it was the first real honesty I had ever heard from Marcus. "I'm sorry," he said, looking at both of us. "I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I know I was wrong." Jamie and I looked at each other. There was no forgiveness in his eyes, and I'm sure there wasn't any in mine either. But there was something else. Closure, maybe. Or just the satisfaction of finally hearing the truth. "Thank you for saying that," I said. "But sorry doesn't give me back the year I spent thinking I wasn't worth loving. Sorry doesn't give Jamie back the father he needed during his sister's illness." "I know," Marcus said. "I know it doesn't." "And sorry doesn't change the fact that we don't need you anymore," Jamie added. "We found each other. We built something beautiful out of the mess you left behind." Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his face now. "I can see that. I can see how close you are. I can see that she was the parent I should have been." "She was," Jamie said simply. Patricia walked over to her son. "Marcus, you need to get help. You need to figure out why you run from love instead of toward it. And you need to do it before you hurt anyone else." "What about Bethany?" Marcus asked. "What about her? You lied to her for months. You let her fall in love with a version of you that doesn't exist. She's better off without you, just like Iris and Jamie were." The truth of those words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He sat down heavily in the front pew. "I've lost everything," he said. "No," I said, surprising myself by feeling a moment of compassion for him. "You've lost the things you threw away. But it's not too late to become a better person. It's not too late to earn back some trust, some respect." Do you think there's any chance?" He looked at Jamie hopefully. "That we could have a relationship someday?" Jamie finished. "I don't know. Maybe. If you do the work. If you get therapy and figure out how to love people without conditions. If you prove that you've changed. But not today, I added. Today, Jamie and I are going to leave here together. We're going to celebrate the fact that we survived you, that we found each other, that we're stronger than we ever were when you were in our lives. Marcus nodded, accepting the truth of it. Jamie took my arm. "Come on," he said. "Let's go home." "See you." We walked toward the church doors. Patricia called out to us. "Jamie? Iris? Will you stay in touch? Will you let me be part of your lives?" "Of course, Grandma," Jamie said, smiling for the first time since we'd entered the church. "Your family." She smiled through her tears. "Good, because I have 18 years of grandmother love to make up for." "We'd like that," I said. "We'd like that very much." At the church doors, I turned back for one last look at Marcus. He was still sitting in the front pew, his head in his hands, his expensive tuxedo wrinkled and his perfect wedding day in ruins. For a moment, I felt sorry. For him. Then I remembered the woman I had been when he left me. Bald, weak, broken, convinced that I wasn't worth loving. I wasn't that woman anymore. I was strong, I was loved, I was exactly where I belonged. With people who would never abandon me when things got hard. The afternoon sun felt warm on my face as Jamie and I walked down the church steps together. Behind us, the chaos was still unfolding. Guests were gathering in small groups in the parking lot, talking in hushed, shocked voices. Some were taking pictures of the church, probably already posting on social media about the wedding that fell apart. But I didn't look back. I was done looking back. "How do you feel?" Jamie asked as we reached my car. I thought about his question. How did I feel? Relieved, definitely. Vindicated, maybe. But more than anything, I felt free. Like I just closed a book I've been trying to finish for 2 years, I said. Jamie laughed. "That's a good way to put it. I feel like I finally said everything I needed to say to him." "Do you regret it? The way it all came out?" He considered this as we got in the car. "No, I don't regret it. He needed to face what he did. And Bethany deserved to know who she was really marrying." "She seemed like a nice person," I said. "She deserves better than him." So did you. So did I. So did Lily. As I started the car, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Elena, my friend from the cancer center. "Hey, how did the wedding go? Are you okay?" I showed the text to Jamie. "Elena doesn't know about you and Marcus yet. I texted her this morning that I was going to my ex's wedding." "What are you going to tell her?" "The truth, that it went better than I could have hoped." I typed back, "It was perfect. Tell you everything later. But I'm more than okay. I'm great." "Where do you want to go?" I asked Jamie as we pulled out of the parking lot. "Honestly, I'm starving. All that drama made me hungry." I laughed. "Lunch it is, somewhere fun, somewhere completely different from that stuffy church." We ended up at a little diner downtown, the kind of place with checkered floors and milkshakes. It was the opposite of everything Marcus would have chosen. Too casual, too loud, too real. It was perfect. Over burgers and fries, we talked about everything that had happened. Not just today, but over the past year and a half since we'd met. "I keep thinking about something," Jamie said, dipping a French fry in ketchup. "When I first met you at the hospital, I was so angry. At everything. At my sister's cancer. At my dad for not being there. At the whole situation. You hit it well. You seemed so calm and together. I was falling apart inside, but talking to you, it helped me see that I could be scared and still be strong, that I could be hurt and still help other people." "You taught me the same thing," I said. "When I started volunteering, I thought I was too broken to help anyone, but helping you through your sister's treatment helped me heal. Do you think we would have become friends if we hadn't both been dealing with Marcus abandoning us? I thought about it. Maybe not as quickly, but I think we would have found each other somehow. You're the kind of person I would want in my life no matter what. Same. You're like the mom I always wished I had. And you're like the son I never knew I wanted. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, eating our lunch and watching the world go by, outside the diner window. Normal people living normal lives, dealing with normal problems. What happens now? Jamie asked. What do you mean? I mean, we've had our big confrontation. We've told our truth. Marcus knows what we think of him. What do we do now? We live our lives, I said simply. We keep being there for each other. We keep growing and healing and becoming the people we're meant to be. And if he tries to contact us, if he wants to apologize more or try to rebuild relationships, I considered this. I think that's up to you. He's your father. If you want to give him another chance someday, that's your choice. What about you? Would you ever forgive him? I think I already have, in a way. Not because he deserves it, but because holding on to anger was hurting me more than it was hurting him. But forgiving him doesn't mean I have to have him in my life. Jamie nodded. I think I understand. Forgiveness for yourself, not for them. Exactly. My phone rang. It was Vera. Please tell me you didn't do anything crazy today, she said. When I answered. Define crazy, I said, grinning at Jamie. Iris, what did you do? I'll tell you everything later, but the short version is that Marcus's wedding didn't go as planned. Oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? Do you need me to come get you? I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm with Jamie and we're having lunch and celebrating. Celebrating what? Our freedom. Our friendship. The fact that we're stronger than the people who tried to break us. After I hung up, Jamie raised his milkshake glass. To surviving Marcus Williams. I clinked my glass against his. To finding each other despite Marcus Williams. To building a real family out of the pieces he left behind. To proving that love doesn't abandon people when they need it most. To the future, Jamie said. His voice serious now. Whatever it brings. To the future, I agreed. As we finished lunch, I thought about what that future might look like. Jamie would start college in the fall. I would keep working at the marketing firm, keep volunteering at the cancer center, keep painting. We would both keep growing, keep healing, keep building lives that made us proud. Maybe Patricia would become a real part of our lives, making up for lost time with Jamie and becoming the mother-in-law I had always wanted. Maybe Lily, Jamie's sister, would become like a daughter to me. Maybe we would build a whole new definition of family. Or maybe it would just be Jamie and me, supporting each other through whatever came next. And that would be enough. More than enough. I have something for you, Jamie said suddenly, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small wrapped package. I was going to give this to you no matter how today went, but now seems like the perfect time. I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a small silver picture frame, and in it was a photo I had never seen before. It was me and Jamie at the cancer center, sitting in the family room where we first met. I was showing him something on my phone, and we were both laughing. When was this taken? I asked. A few months ago. One of the nurses took it when we weren't looking. I asked her for a copy because you're my family. And I wanted a picture of us together. Tears filled my eyes. Jamie, this is beautiful. Read the back of the frame. I turned it over. Engraved in small script were the words, "For Iris, thank you for showing me what real love looks like. Love, Jamie." I love you too, I said, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. More than you know. I do know, because you show me every day. We sat there for a while longer, talking about Jamie's college plans, my new art projects, the places we wanted to travel together. We talked about everything and nothing, the way families do. When we finally left the diner, I felt different than I had when we walked out of the church. Not just relieved or vindicated, but genuinely happy, content, complete. Want to come over and see my latest painting? I asked as we got back in the car. Always, Jamie said. At my house, I showed him the canvas I'd been working on for weeks. It was a landscape, but not a realistic one. It was full of bright colors and bold strokes, abstract and emotional. It's incredible, he said. What inspired it? This, I said, gesturing between us. Our friendship. The way we found light. In a dark time. The way something beautiful grew out of something painful. Are you going to enter it in a show? Maybe. Ms. Chen at work has been encouraging me to apply to some local galleries. You should. The world needs to see your art. That evening, after Jamie went home, I sat in my living room surrounded by my paintings. The walls that used to feel empty and sad were now full of color and life. The house that used to echo with loneliness now felt warm and welcoming. I picked up my phone and looked at the picture frame Jamie had given me. In the photo, I was smiling. Really, genuinely, smiling. It was the smile of someone who felt loved and valued and needed. I looked in the mirror across the room. The woman looking back at me had the same smile. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought cancer had taken everything from me. My health, my marriage, my future. I thought I was broken beyond repair. I was wrong. Cancer hadn't taken everything from me. It had shown me what was real and what was fake. It had revealed who truly loved me and who only loved the idea of me. Marcus's abandonment hadn't broken me. It had freed me to find people who would love me through the hard times, not just the easy ones. And Jamie had given me something I never expected. Not just friendship, but family. Not just support, but purpose. Not just healing, but growth. I had lost a husband who never really knew me, but I had gained a son who saw my heart. And that's how I learned that sometimes losing everything leads you to finding what you were always meant to have. Jamie didn't just become my friend, he became my family. The son I never knew I needed, and the reminder that real love never abandons you when things get hard. Marcus thought he was throwing us away. Instead, he brought us together. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and tell me what city or country you're in. It always amazes me how these stories connect people from all around the world. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It really helps spread these stories of hope and kindness to more people who might need to hear them. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We share stories like this every week. Stories about real people finding strength, love, and family in the most unexpected places. Speaking of unexpected stories, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are stronger than you know, and you deserve people who will love you through the hard times, not just the easy ones.